Welcome to Reef Diary, day 107. So late last night, I kind of had a tank emergency. It seems like no matter what we do, there's always something that can go wrong. I had just done a really nice video with you all talking about the tank, what was going on, and placing the Sebae where it belongs. And all the lights went off, and I watched a television show, and it was probably 2 in the morning, 2:30. I thought, I'm going to go ahead and get some rest. And I heard something strange coming from my reef. And I thought, maybe it's the Comore dosing pump, putting in some potassium. So I went behind the reef and I looked down at it, put my hand on the dosing pump, and it wasn't running. There was no liquid coming out of the tubing, so that wasn't it. So I kind of looked around and tried to figure out what it could be that is making this strange, quiet sound. And I don't see the source. And remember, it's pitch dark. There's only glowing lights from LEDs and pumps and stuff. It's dark. And as I look up from down low, looking up through the back of the tank into the living room, which was also dark, there may have been some light coming from the TV. I can't remember if that was on or not. But the tank was super cloudy. I mean, just like really bad cloud. And I thought, what the heck is going on? So I came out here and I looked in the anemone cube, thinking that possibly the anemones were spawning. Nope, that water was still crystal clear. So whatever was going on was happening in the reef itself. And as I turned my head and looked from the anemone cube to the end of the tank, from this end of the tank, and looked in, I saw the problem and I saw the source of the sound. That Sebae anemone, who I told you it was a battle of wills between it and me, was literally faced on an MP40, which I've never seen it do before. It has once climbed up into an acro, it has moved to the front, it has moved to the back. It's never gone up a glass or anything like that. So of course I disconnected the MP40 from power immediately, and then I quietly used gravity to let the anemone come off of that pump, and it's all shriveled up and back where it belongs. So, I mean, this sounds very vindictive of me, but it's like exactly where I wanted it to be. That'll teach it a lesson. We'll see how it does. The clownfish were very confused with what happened to their home. They were spread out into the hammer corals and here, there, and everywhere. And the Sebae is back there. It is definitely very wilted. It's probably an eighth of its normal size. That anemone usually spreads out to be about 2 feet across. And right now, it is probably about that big. It's just a little shriveled up thing in the middle of the rock pit that I set up for it. And we'll have to see how it does. And what occurred to me during that period while I was dealing with this anemone and looking at the water, and I'm watching the tank. Now, I need to kind of paint a better picture for you. I told you the water was cloudy, I told you I was dealing with a vortex, but how do I do that in the middle of the night at 3 a.m. when you can't see anything? I flipped on the light in the room behind me, and it was, it gave me plenty of light to see. And as I'm watching, I see Spock just swimming into stuff, just like hitting the glass, hitting more glass, hitting a coral, hitting the glass. And I thought, what is going on with Spock? Did the nematocyst from the anemone get into the water column and sting her or damage her in some way? And I'm watching her really acutely to see if there's anything amiss. Is her breathing labored? Is she acting erratic? She just seemed kind of drunk. And then I basically thought, I have two choices here. I can reach into the tank and lift her out and drop her into the frag tank, with no acclimation, just get her out of that water and into other water that I know is relatively safe, or leave her alone. And I was just not really sure what to do, and I'm watching her closely. And what I think actually happened was, because I flipped on the light, she was asleep. She woke up to the sudden burst of light, and her brain wasn't quite awake yet. And that's probably why she was bumping into things. And keep in mind, too, that she has one bad eye. So basically, she has only 50% of her vision, just woke her up. That's going to be my guess, because today she's swimming around completely normally. She ate, she's active, she looks good. But last night, she did give me a scare. Okay, so... But still, I didn't tell you the thing that occurred to me when I'm dealing with this crisis of the tank. And I also will mention, before I go there, that my protein skimmer was pulling out all kinds of waste, and very huge bubbles were coming out of the cup. And the skimmate was a weird color, and it had to be a reaction to what just happened to the Sebae anemone versus the vortex pump. So I'm finally telling you, what occurred to me was that I have not mixed up my new salt water yet. I got 250 gallons of RODI water in there, but there was only about this much water left in the bottom, which means salinity was probably like 1.002, and I need 1.026. So this evening I went ahead and I put in about roughly 90 pounds of salt, and I should have the right salinity of salt water, which I'll verify again tomorrow morning. But at least now I have 250 gallons of water on hand if there were to be another crisis such as this, where I could do a big water change to kind of clean the water more rapidly. Because last night I was caught flat-footed, not being prepared, and here I'm always thinking ahead, and I just totally forgot I needed to add salt to that brand new container that I filled up just before Aquashella. I guess the show just distracted me and I forgot. So, that's what I did today. I cleaned the glass a little bit, I fed the fish, I made salt water, and I kept an eye on the Sebae all day. And the skunk clownfish are all swimming in and out of it incessantly. They're just pounding away at it. This anemone is either pouty or suffering, or, I mean, it's not suffering. It was not torn to shreds. It definitely took, some damage from what happened. And I think the sound that I was hearing that I thought was a dosing pump was the prop rubbing against the skin of the anemone, possibly. I don't know. So that's what happened. It was not pleasant. It was not pleasant at 3 in the morning, but it is a part of this is what it's like to run a reef tank. Each day there's a new surprise. And in the case here, what was going on with my tank, I, didn't expect that because I've never seen that before. And matter of fact, one of my memories came up today on Facebook and showed a picture of the reef where the Sebae was in the front of the tank right here in the foreground, and that was 2015. So I don't remember exactly when I put her in. It might be 2014, it might be 2015, but I've had that anemone now for 6 years, and this is the first. And so it's really hard to predict, hey, what if it ever crazily decides to go off in this area? Now, could I put an anemone guard on that vortex? Absolutely, I could. And I perhaps will be ordering one soon to put on there, even though it'll probably never, ever happen again. I had a starfish that got too close to the MP60 years ago, and I was watching TV, and I heard thunk. I was like, what the heck is that sound? And I looked, and I couldn't see anything, so I grabbed a flashlight and I looked, and you could see the arms spinning inside the vortex cage. And I saw the starfish scooching its way across the sand as fast as it could away from that pump. It literally lost an arm to it, and it took it almost a year to completely heal, to have a complete arm again. And I was like, wow, that took a long time for, an oops. And then I'd say it was like 2 years later, same thing happened, did it again. And I was just like, man, you'd think you'd learn for the first time not to do that. Well, after losing 2 different arms over a long period of time, it has never gone near the vortex again. It knows to avoid it. And I'm hoping the Sebae will have the same kind of, well, again, last night I called it brainless, so who knows. But I'd like to think it has enough brains to stay away from a vortex in the future. We'll see. A couple of things to note is that there was no change in water parameters. The ORP didn't change, but there was an intense smell of something wasn't right in the reef room. That smell would not go away. I didn't feel any burning sensation when I reached into the tank to deal with this. Anyway, thanks for watching. I will see you again tomorrow.